Hey guys, I wanted to do a little video today on the importance of listening to your instincts and tapping into your animal instincts and how you can do that. So, we are taught as humans to ignore our instincts, and part of this is a good thing because we have to fit into a society, we have to fit into a school and a workplace and all that. So, part of it's good, but part of it is very bad because we're animals. Think about it. Dogs have instincts, cats, all animals. They have instincts, and we do too, but we're taught to not listen. And then what happens? When you get disconnected from your intuition, what happens is not good because you might pick bad relationships. You might not listen to yourself when you meet somebody and maybe they turn out to be a really bad person, or you might get into a job and then find that you hate it. Okay, so let me give you some tips right now of stuff you can do to help hone your instincts, and over time, it starts working so much better. Like, I've had this work for me, and it is so much better. So this is the first thing that I do. When I walk down the street, and you can do this whatever city you're in. I'm in New York, so there's, obviously a lot going on outside. But even in your own neighborhood, no matter where you live, assuming it's safe to walk down the street, you never know these days. When you're walking, get a feeling of if you have good energy or bad energy on that street. And it's something you can tap into to the point where, like, this is what I notice happen. I'll have a feeling like, oh, there's some bad energy up and to the left. And I won't know why, I won't know what it is. And then right then, like, a car will run a red light, or a car will start just like honking like crazy and cussing someone out. Just something really negative like that, right? Or sometimes there's like a dog that's very vicious and is like almost attacking people. Whatever it is, there's almost always something after I get that feeling of, oh, there's something up in here that's just not right. And then something happens. And the same thing happens to me with good energy. Like, I'll get a feeling like, oh, I feel really good energy, like around the corner. And I'll get around the corner, and there will be just like something nice going on. Maybe there's, I don't know, maybe there's some little street fair down that block and people are having a good time, or, who knows. But it's something you can practice right away. It's just when you are outside where you're walking around, just start to kind of listen to that energy. And it's a sense you have to be able to read these things if you hone it. Another reason why you might not be listening to your energy as much as you could is, as kids, we're often told to ignore how we feel. And we're told basically just shut up and do it anyway. And that's something that we learn, like when you go to the doctor or the dentist and you're like really scared, and your parent basically tells you just ignore that and just, it's fine, right? But as a kid, like, you're told to ignore your danger instinct, and you're told that that's nothing and that that's to be ignored, and that if you're strong and you're tough, you're going to just ignore your instincts. But that's not how overcoming fear works. That's not being brave. You want to embrace your instincts and factor that in to your decisions. So that's unfortunately one reason that we don't listen to our instincts. Okay, so walking down the street, and another thing I like to do walking down the street, and I mean, when I'm doing this, I kind of just like look straight ahead. So I'm not looking like and scanning. I'm not trying to listen for like sirens like you just heard or anything like that. I'm not trying to like make a logical guess of there being bad energy. I'm just actually trying to kind of ignore everything and just go with my instincts and my gut. So I'll look kind of straight ahead, and then that's when I'll notice, oh, I feel bad energy here. Sometimes I feel totally calm, neutral, like nothing's really going on. But yeah, another thing you can do is just, as you are walking down the street and there are other people, which is, of course, easier to do in New York because there's just people everywhere for the most part all the time. But if you're walking in a park or on your block, you're going to see some people. And what you can do is just try to like feel their vibe. It's very interesting because you really can feel other people's vibe. Even if you're behind them, you can get a sense of like what energy they're throwing out. And I mean, this doesn't tell you if they're a good person or a bad person or anything. It just tells you kind of like, are they sending out good or bad energy? And it's so interesting because oftentimes I'll get this amazing, like, wow, this person is sending such good energy. It's crazy. And then other times I'll get this really bad energy from someone, almost like they're trying to steal from you. And I mean, sometimes sometimes it is New York. Literally, people are trying to steal from you sometimes. And sometimes it's figuratively. Like, these are people who are just kind of like out for what they can get. And they're sort of just like looking to take. And I feel that you can feel that. So, all of this information is like available to you if you start just asking yourself to tap into it. Every time I've had something like really bad happen, I've always had a feeling like, and you know what? I didn't listen to it a lot of those times, which is why I started honing in on this and practicing it. It's something that you can practice every single day. Just walking down the street, and not just on the street, you can do this in your office, wherever. You don't even have to look at anyone. You can just look at your computer and just kind of, while you're looking at your computer, you can scan the energy of the room and just kind of feel like, where do you feel the negativity? Where do you feel the positivity? And it's so weird, but it's something that also helps you to avoid those negative energies. Now, look, sometimes you need to deal with the negative energy and it just has to be dealt with. There's a problem at work or there's a problem or whatever. Not everyone's in a good mood all the time. That's fine. That's being human. But if you have people in your office or your life that are just like super negative and they're always draining your energy, this is something that you can do to kind of like figure out who those people are and then kind of keep your distance a little bit more than maybe you would. So one time I was walking into my apartment from the street, and in New York, when you live in a walk-up, there are two doors. So there's the main door you unlock, and then there's the second door you unlock, and then you go up the stairs. And that's basically like to keep the cold air from coming in, and also to keep bad people from coming in because there's two doors. So I had this big thing of groceries, and I was like unlocking it while I'm carrying my groceries, and just for a second, I had this feeling like, oh, something's not right. But you know what it was? I went back to that childhood stuff of like, oh, something's not right. So just be brave, ignore it, be strong, just don't be silly now. And what happened is there was a mentally ill man who was probably psychotic, and he ran in behind me, and he was having some kind of episode where it was like his life depended on getting into my apartment. He didn't live there. So he ran past me and he was pushing, like throwing himself against the second door, like his life depended on it. And I mean, I could tell that this man was not right. And in the news, there was actually someone who fit his description who had been hitting women in the face with bricks. And one of those attacks had happened half a block away from me. So it was happening in my neighborhood. And so this was kind of in the back of my mind too. In the end, I do think that was the same man. I don't have any proof of that because when I called the police, he ran away. But anyway, long story short, it was very hard to get rid of this man. He kept, like, I managed to get him to leave that entryway area, and I went outside and called the police. But he actually ended up hiding across the street because there was like a stairwell that went downstairs a few steps. And he hid in that area, and then he continued to run across the street, like between cars, and try to get in every time I tried to get in. So in the end, I actually got in the apartment and I slammed the door in his face. Like, he was inches from coming inside. And I slammed the door and I was on the phone with the police. and I was able to like describe his clothing because he was right there. And then he saw me describing his clothing and he ran away. So, anyway, the point of that story is look what I did. I felt that twinge of, oh, something's not right. And then my childhood lesson kicked in that when you feel something that's not quite right, it's best to just ignore it. Be brave, be strong. Wrong answer. That's the wrong answer. You see how that was my mistake. So we have to unlearn some things that we've learned in childhood so that we can actually become better. And you can use these instincts not just in keeping yourself safe, but in business, in relationships, and dating. Like, how many times have you dated someone and then you look back on it and you're like, oh, I should have listened to myself. There were these warning signs, but I didn't. And so often we don't because we make excuses for the person, right? And we want to see the good in people, right? So we'll say, okay, he made this joke about serial killers and that was so inappropriate, but maybe he was nervous and maybe in his group of friends that's normal, maybe this, maybe that, and then we do the same thing. We don't listen to that twinge of like, oh, yeah, that kind of seems like something a serial killer might say. And I'm not saying that you can diagnose a serial killer from one joke, but what I am saying is you've got to listen to those instincts because when you interact with dangerous people, you will feel something most of the time, but let me clarify that a bit. You don't always feel a huge red flag, especially with certain types of dangerous people like sociopaths. Like, oftentimes they know how to not trigger that alarm bell in your mind. Like, they know how to pretend. It's so creepy. Even talking about it, like, it freaks me out. It really freaks me out. But it's true. Like, they know. I mean, think about it. They know that they're a sociopath. I'm sorry to get off topic, but I just think this is useful. They know they're a sociopath. They know if they like say certain things or do certain things, that's going to freak you out because they've experienced that their whole life of people getting freaked out when they say or do certain things. So they know how to hide that. But even though they're hiding it, there's still some animal part of you that just knows something is not right. And that's the kind of thing you can start to listen to, and it might not make sense at first. That's the thing about your intuition. It usually doesn't make any sense. So you're walking down the street and you're like, I feel weird energy, but I guess I'm just a weirdo who feels weird energy for no reason. I guess I should ignore that. And that's exactly what I thought when that man was like staring at me about to push his way into my apartment. I had this feeling like, oh, don't be silly, Julie. Don't be all like a scaredy cat, like, come on, don't be ridiculous. You're just walking in, everything's fine. Like, that's what my inner dialogue was, which means I was talking myself out of my intuition. So think of that. Think of how many times you may have talked yourself out of your intuition, and your intuition is so valuable. You know why? It's a combination of your logic and your emotion. That's your intuition. And it's a combination of also your subconscious mind, which is faster to access. Your conscious mind takes a little longer to put the pieces all together and calculate it and be like, wait a second, that man I walked by seemed a little suspicious. Then I got a weird feeling. And then, like, by the time you get to that conclusion, it's too late. But your intuition is quick. It's so fast. And it sends you that signal that, hey, there's something you should listen to. So other things you can do are to spend more time just being alone. Because so many people these days, when they're alone, and this is no judgment, I don't think this is necessarily bad, but a lot of people are on Facebook, Instagram, social media, Googling stuff, Wikipedia, and that's all great. I think social media is a great thing. But the only problem is sometimes people get really uncomfortable just being alone, like not doing something like Netflix or entertaining themselves. They kind of freak out if they're just like sitting there. So I think that is another way you can hone your intuition, is just spend some time alone and just kind of sit there. And instead of like meditating, which is so popular these days, just sit there and just notice like what's going on with you. Notice what's going on in the room. Just like get quiet and listen. So, like, unlike meditation, where you're trying to, like, not react to your thoughts, and if you have a thought, don't think about it, let the thought go by. Unlike that, in what I'm describing, you do react to stuff. You actually get used to, like, noticing something like, oh, you know what? I don't like the energy in this room. I don't know why. Why I feel creeped out. Like, do you ever feel like that? You just get creeped out for no reason. Just like a minute ago, I felt like that. And sometimes when I felt weird like that, I've like looked out my window and then, because I live in New York, there are like hundreds of people behind me right now that are living back there. Thousands, actually, thousands of people. So there's so much energy flying around. And that's how intuition is it you're kind of picking up on what's there, right? So at times I've opened the window and then there's been people like across the courtyard um, doing whatever stuff they're doing, sometimes having an argument or whatever. And it's like, even with the blinds closed, the curtain shut, I still somehow pick up on that energy, which is so weird. But that's what I'm saying to do. Just like sit there and be like, okay, I feel like some weird energy over here. And that's the other thing too. Like, I live in New York, okay? So I have a neighbor here, 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 and here, and there, and then thousands of people over there. So even though I'm alone, I'm not really alone energy wise, okay? Because energy flies through the air. It really does. Um, so that's something you can do. Spend time alone that you're not doing an activity, you're not doing something structured, you're not meditating, you're actually listening to yourself and allowing yourself to investigate. If you feel something weird, you can ask yourself, why do I feel something weird, right? Like, there have been times I've felt something weird. I've sat here and been like, what is that? Where's that coming from? And there used to be a couple that lived here and they would fight all the time. But it's like sometimes I couldn't even hear them fighting, but they probably were fighting because I would pick up on like a weird energy. And then maybe like 15 minutes later, I would start hearing like arguing. And like the guy upstairs, I started telling all my neighbors drama that I just like, so much about people when you live in New York. But like sometimes, I hope he can't hear me because my window's open. Sometimes he walks in a really, really angry way, and I just feel like he's having a bad day. And I feel like I can feel that energy in my apartment when I like stop and like listen to myself, and I'm like, wait, I feel something off, right? So that's something else you can do in addition to just walking down the street, noticing if you feel any bad energy or good energy on the street, and then also doing this with people. Like, whether they're on the street, in your office, in line. Like, when I'm in a line and I'm bored, this is what I like to do. And you don't have to look at people to do it. You don't want to creep people out, guys. Come on, don't stare at people. But just standing in the line, I'll just kind of like feel who feels like they have really good energy coming off of them and who feels like they have a lot of toxic energy coming off. And again, I'm not saying that that person necessarily is toxic, but for whatever reason, the toxic energy is coming off them. Like, maybe they had a terrible day and they're like super, super angry. Maybe they're on some kind of medication. Like, who knows? But that's another thing that I do. In addition to that, you can do some writing. So if you just get a piece of paper and you just start writing some things down. And like it's very interesting because if you just write some words down, you will get like a feeling about those words. Like, if you just wrote the word purple on a piece of paper, you would get a feeling about that. And it would be your intuition, right? And so, like, for me, if I wrote the word purple down, like, I get a very good feeling from that word, but you might not. You might get a bad feeling from that word. And then if you ask yourself, like, what's that about? Why did I get a bad feeling? You can actually figure it out if you ask yourself enough questions. But the most important thing of everything that I'm saying is just to listen, because you always will not be able to figure out exactly what it means or why do I get a bad feeling when I look at the word purple. I don't know, but I do. So the key is to listen to it. And especially in relationships, guys, this is so hard because you know what happens? You meet somebody, you're like, oh my God, this person is so cute. I'm so excited about them. This is awesome. The last thing you want to do is start like thinking about their possible flaws. That's just not the way we're really built. I mean, studies have shown that we actually do wear rose colored glasses in the beginning of relationships because we ignore flaws and we ignore red flags. And it feels really good to do that because it feels good to just focus on someone's amazing aspects and like see that, right? It's very positive. But the only bad thing is sometimes you do get a signal from yourself that something is not right. And you have to untrain yourself. And you do that by building your intuition and then deconstructing all of that junk that you tell yourself as a reason to not listen to yourself. Just like the kid getting a shot in the doctor's office and being told, you're being a baby, come on, get it together. You have to be stronger than this. You can't just listen to every little fear you have. And then as an adult, you often will tell yourself that kind of thing, like, oh, you know what? I feel a little afraid of this person. Oh, come on, don't be ridiculous. You're probably just being nervous because it's a first date. Just get it together, be strong, be together. And meanwhile, this person might be sending you some very scary signals, and that may be why you feel afraid, which makes total sense. But the key here is don't try to figure it out. Don't try to figure out why you feel afraid because, number one, just get yourself safe. That's what I would say. If you're feeling signals from your intuition and you don't feel okay about something, focus on safety, number one. So if you're on that date and you're like, gosh, I keep getting these like bad vibes from this person. I keep feeling a little scared. I keep feeling like really weird, but I don't know why. It's so common. Women do this, but guys do this too. I've had clients and known guys who have done this. They get that bad vibe and then they think, oh, well, I don't want to be rude. I want to be a gentleman, so I should probably just continue on the date. And, I told her we were going to get dinner, so I better go ahead and follow through on that. I don't want to break my promise. And I mean, those are all considerations, and women feel the same stuff, Hey, I said I was going to go to see this music show with this guy, and we've had like 2 drinks, and I'm like, really, there's something here I'm picking up on. But because I can't put my finger on what is it, I must be wrong, or I shouldn't listen to that. I mean, I'm sure we've all done this at times. So the new way to do it is to practice all of these exercises enough so that your intuition gets so strong that you know for sure that, like, yeah, this is intuition. This isn't first date nerves. This isn't me being a scaredy cat. This isn't me overanalyzing. I'm really picking up on something. And the key is you're not going to know what it is. Because often we think, like, if I don't know what I'm picking up on, then I shouldn't act on that. I shouldn't end the date unless I have a clear, good reason. Like, this person told me a racist joke or, whatever. But if they haven't done that, then I should, give them a chance and see. And with your intuition, when you have built it, you can start to just say, no, you know what? I felt that a few times now. I feel this weird feeling. I don't want to see where this goes. I'm going to get out of the situation. And, there's a lot of ways to do that I'll talk about in another video of how you tactfully get out of a situation, especially with someone who might be a dangerous person. That's a whole nother video. In the meantime, ask your local police station because they probably will have some good tips for you. And guys as well, this is just as much of a thing because, scary, dangerous people, this is not a gender thing. They could be any gender, so you have to protect yourself. But you want to listen to yourself to be able to protect yourself. So to give you an example, like what I do after like honing this for a long, long time, if I'm walking down the street and I get a feeling like, oh, I really feel bad energy like across this street and I'm going this way, I will stop and I will cross the other way. And almost always, like I said, like a car runs the red light, or there's some kind of commotion or fight, or maybe the police are coming down that way. Something is happening. Um, and I trust it. So even if I don't see exactly what it was, which sometimes it's rare, but that does happen, I still trust that there was something going on there because I don't just randomly feel like that for nothing. So I'll cross the other way and then maybe I'll just go a block down, um, or, depending on where I am on the street, or I'll just walk on that other side of the street until I feel like, okay, I'll come back now. Same thing with people on the street. If I get a weird feeling from somebody, I will just make a little more space between me and them. And you know what? Hey, I could be wrong. Maybe I just, who knows what, picked up on the wrong thing. But better safe than sorry. It's not really going to affect anything to just make a little more space. I do that in a lot of ways. Like sometimes I just kind of move to the side and I act like I'm looking for something in my purse or whatever. I do all kinds of things to just make a little more space. Or I'll look in a store window for a second or whatever, just to like give people a moment to move away. And, I'm sure sometimes it is nothing, but I would rather be safe than sorry. Now, the other way that this comes in, aside from relationships and all that, is in your career. Sometimes you really aren't listening to your intuition in your career, and you might be really good at your job, but there's just this part of you that's like, oh, I really don't quite see myself in this field long term. Or like, yeah, I like part of my job, but the other part just doesn't match me. Or there's something else I really, really wish I was doing, and like, why am I not doing that? So you might just feel a little twinge of feeling like almost like you're in someone else's life. Like you're like, okay, why am I going to this job? Why am I putting on this suit? Like, this isn't me. Okay. I'm not saying that's the case for you. You might be in the perfect career for you, but a lot of people have this where, and again, we're trained to not listen to ourselves. So it's not really a shocker that most of us are not good at listening to ourselves. It only makes sense, but it's something that we can unlearn. And just like animals, we can learn to honor and value those instincts so that we can bring that into everything we do and we can make better decisions. Because again, intuition is a combination of everything and it's fast and it gives you that reaction quickly. So with your career too, you can start to just notice those twinges of, like I just don't feel so good about that. Or maybe your boss asks you to stay late or work the weekend and you just have this feeling like this just isn't right for me. On the flip side, intuition can be really good too. So you might actually have intuition like this is the perfect career for you and this is totally worth it to stay late. And like, actually, I am down to work the weekend because I am just so all in and I know this is the right career for me. And I'm going to invest in this because this is the road for me and I am just down for this. So that might be happening as well. So it's not only negative, it's positive as well. Sometimes it just feels neutral when nothing much is happening, but you can totally work on this every single day. So just to go through, you can walk down the street, notice if there's bad energy, like maybe a car up ahead that might be about to have an accident or something, or someone yelling or fighting. You can kind of feel that even if you can't see it or hear it yet, you can sort of pick up on it still. You can also read people's energy, really in any situation. I like to do it on the street, but you can do that wherever. You can spend time alone that you're not doing anything, which I know is so hard for a lot of people, but just sit there and just like kind of feel the energy in your room, try to pick up on what's there, and then you can feel the energy just sort of in yourself too. Like you might be carrying around some negativity or whatever, or in those moments, I often sometimes will get intuition that kind of just flashes by real quick about other situations. Like I might have just kind of like a gut feeling about, oh, this person I talked to today, or this person I'm like gonna have a meeting with later in this week, and we're talking about doing a project together, but now I have this feeling about it. It might be good, it might be bad. So sitting alone is really good. I know it's hard to do at first, but even if you just do it for like 5 minutes, it really helps to tap into that. Because if you're just go, go, go every moment of your life and you don't give yourself that time, you might miss some of those insights. No, that said, you might have this stuff come to you sometimes when you're just walking along or when you're in the shower and you're just kind of like driving. Sometimes that will happen too. And then, the last one was get a piece of paper and then just write random words on it and see if you have sort of an instinct reaction to those words. And you can try to figure out why, but the most important thing to get is just to notice that you're having that feeling of, I'm having a reaction to this. I'm having a gut level reaction to this. So you can write any words down, anything. It doesn't matter. You can open up a magazine and just put your finger somewhere and then write that word down and just see how you react to it and see if you have any intuition about it. Now, there are some things that are just going to feel neutral. You're not really going to feel much about it. Other things you might have a gut feeling about. And so the whole point of everything I'm saying is just to notice and not discount your gut feeling the way that we're taught to discount it by society. And and we need some of that in society just to fit in, but we also can still be the animals that we are while fitting into society. We can really do both. And then, of course, in your career. So, this is a cool thing. When you get good at this, you can use this in anything. You can use this in, is this business deal good for me? Is this relationship, this friendship? And again, it's not conclusive. It doesn't mean that, you're psychic or whatever. It just means that you have another sense. So you don't just have logic. You don't just have emotion. Because you know what? Logic can have holes in it. Logic can be missing facts. Feelings can have holes in it as well, right? I think we've all experienced that, where we get really upset at someone and then we're like, oh, wait, I didn't understand the whole situation. I jumped to conclusions. Oh, I'm so sorry. We have this kind of stuff happen. Or we have, this was a logical thing to do, but we were just missing pieces of info that we needed, or whatever that is. So it gives you a tool that you can use anywhere, and it's just helped me so much. And realizing why I wasn't listening to it, I just feel a lot safer too. Just because I feel like walking down the street, I really pay attention. So if there is a threat, I've sort of already felt it. I'm not as caught off guard as I used to be. So yeah, okay. Well, anyway, I hope this was interesting for you guys, and you can give those things a try and see if you see some improvement. Because I know that I saw a big improvement. Just making the decision that I'm going to listen to myself. When I feel like that again, and I feel like something's not right, I might not understand what's wrong, but I'm going to listen to it, and I'm not going to tell myself to shut up. I'm going to listen, and you avoid so many problems that way. So let me know your experience. If you've had any experiences with intuition like this, leave me a comment below. I'm curious, and let me know if you do see an improvement just spending maybe a few minutes a day, maybe 2 minutes or 5 minutes a day on this. Tell me if you see an improvement, and please if you like this video, comment, subscribe. I really appreciate that. And I am a life coach in Manhattan. My website is yourdreamslifecoach.com. So if you're looking for life coaching, you can fill out the contact form on my website, and I will email you rates. So make sure to include your email address, or else I have nowhere to send the rates to. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.